creativity and cartooning. And they don't seem like they go together, but if you don't like art, it might be one of those discomforting things we're going to do with you today. And if you like art, it might just be something you're doing to enhance your writing skills. Character development. So character development is one aspect of writing in which you're describing a character. And the first character, even I teach public speaking, I teach communication courses. In addition to having an extremely artistic side, I have an extremely orderly side. So I have these like two, I'm like, you know, what is it, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Don't say any amens. But you know, I just have very diverse sides to me. So the artist in me is like character development. The creator, you know, that makes me want to draw, create a character. And the first character we all have an in-depth experience with is ourselves as a character, because we live in our own skin. And when you're thinking about character in your books, or when you're thinking about character in speaking to people about your books, think of yourself as the first character that you're bringing to the stage. And by that I mean that you are a message that your audience is reading. Whether your audience is Andrew at the newspaper who you want to write about your book, or whether your audience are the, who was that? That were lions walking around the dragons and lions at FreeCon walking around who you want to buy the books and bracelets. You have, so they're reading you, they're saying, do I trust this person? Who is this person that's coming in front of me? So character development, it's a thing that makes us all connect with the story, want to read the story, want to listen to you, want to read you. So let me tell you about myself. So I went back to school, I'm a single, I had a horrible, awful, saddest. It was a heartbreaking divorce. Who writes romance here?
A lot of.
So but no, I'll never admit to erotica. I'll never admit, especially not on camera, that I ever read that. But I think that romance is just the best genre. But I don't want, it's one of those things where you know you eat a whole bunch of cookies and you don't want everybody to know you eat a whole bunch of cookies because you want to be like, well, I read, you know, Freud last week and, you know, no, not romance. So romance is just like my go-to genre. And so in romance, you always have the heroine and the hero, and that's just this wonderful creative genre. And so in my story, it went south. It went, you know, it didn't end right. So I went back to school, I guess, 2008, graduate school. I'd been in 1999, I'd finished grad school, went back to school, and I just remember sitting there, I was just like, oh my gosh, you know. It's been a minute since I've been here. This is very difficult. I need to keep alert. What am I going to do? And what I started doing is drawing. And while my professors were lecturing, drawing became a way I could retain the information, ease my nerves, and sort of process what was going on in the middle of so much stress. Because my motivating factor is laid back, loyal. I don't like tight deadlines. I don't like the plans to change. I'm going to salsa. So, that just sort of, I had to have a way. So I started doodling a lot, and I was just, so this is me. And I tell people that the point is not for it to be like a good art. We're not trying to be Picasso. That's not, you know, my son is like, Mom, my son, Chris, raise your hand, Chris. He's the artist. He's the anime artist, those of you who love anime. He's really an amazing artist. He's like, Mom, your art stinks. But that's okay, because it doesn't have to be good art to do its job in our context of what we're trying to do. So this is me. Yeah, I'm happy I'm free. Okay, so while I was there, I used to draw notes. So I would, whatever, we're studying discourse analysis or communication theory or whatever, I would draw the notes. If we were studying about Roosevelt, I found myself sketching Roosevelt, writing the key ideals and concepts. And I would do it in church, and it had throwbacks to some childhood stuff, but that's a whole different story. So, character development, we're going to look at it as a way of just sort of getting into thinking about the characters we're creating, and also ourselves as a character. So this is me, and when I'm writing a book, one of the things I do is I think of who's my target audience, and I draw her pictures on my wall. It's a certain person. I drew her. It really is, and I took her out to coffee, because I wanted to talk to her about the book I was working on, and I was like, you know, you're like my target. Everybody I want to read my book, you represent that for me, so can you tell me? And then she was like, oh really, thanks, that's cool. Well, you know, you need to make this bigger, you need to change this, and she really got into it. But character development, the way we capture our characters and even portray ourselves to the world. So the first thing I want you to do is to create a character version of yourself. So you're sitting there with the people who are somewhat like you. There's some different kinds of paper by you. There's markers, there's crayons. If you want colored paper, there's colored paper. So you're going to create yourself. I'll give you 5 or 10 minutes. So you're drawing you, a cartoon version of you. Remember, perfectionist is not the perfect picture of you ever. That's okay. You don't have to draw good. That's a big head. Write one word that describes you today. It can be anything.
One word.
What's
Right. No, my character.
Happy.
And then I'm going to we'll collect it.
What?
Oh.
You don't have to write your name on it.
Girl, listen, I don't think we can. How about 2 words?
2 words is fine.
Okay.
I want to say that word and describe it.
Have everyone's attention. Thank you so much for participating and getting outside of your comfort zone if you don't like to draw. And if you like to draw, coloring with me. They say that adult coloring is very therapeutic, so it's very popular right now. So we're right in the cutting edge of a current trend. And visual communication, drawing, it just changes the way we think and do things. So it's a good activity to just change how you're thinking, just to do something different. Getting up, I'm one of those people who has a basketball hoop in my office, and when I just get up and leave my computer and just shoot, or I have the golf clubs and I just change what I'm doing just to mix things up. So it's supposed to be really good for your creativity. So let's talk a little bit more. We talked about character development. We talked about ourselves. There's an S on my chest for Supergirl today. Not to say I'm Superwoman, but today I'm going to go see the movie, I hope. And I feel like I can't believe I'm actually here doing this with all the stuff I have to do. That's amazing to me. I'm like Superwoman. I mean, dog. Right, yeah, and when I leave here, I keep running. So, character development. Let's look at character development and in the lens of some art. So, character development, designing stories, so designing people so that you can use them when you're presenting yourself to others. Maybe you're a character, or presenting a character in your work. And so I brought some examples of writers who have done some interesting things with character development, and some examples from pop culture. So what characters do is they give your story life. I'm going to see Batman and Superman and Batman because I want to see Superman. That's why. It's not because of the storyline, it's not because of the action, it's the character that's driving me. And I'm going to watch The Last Dragon again because I think The Last Dragon is really cute. I want to see him kick. I want to see him beat Sho'nuff. You know, it's the characters that drive us. It's our compassion. And Pretty Woman. I mean, it's her. It's Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. It's those characters that I watch, and I want to see that Cinderella scene where she's transformed and she wears that red dress. I think it's red. And you know, it's the characters. In fact, I want that dress too. Best Man. And these movies, these things are named after characters. Pretty Woman is a woman. It's a character. Superman is a person, it's a character. The Last Dragon is a person, it's a character. The Best Man, and Tay Diggs, Best Man, all those characters. I want to see them. That's why we're watching. The character is driving the story. So some of these writers, how they do character development. Has anybody read Redeeming Love or anything Francine Rivers wrote? She's a romance writer, and she's a Christian romance writer. She's written a series called Mark of the Lion, and she said in an interview that she creates. The way she develops her characters is she might have a thing. She used to be a non-Christian romance writer, and then she became a Christian, and she had her editor buy all the books across. Like she was like, okay, that stuff I wrote, it was too steamy for my new me, and so then she started writing Christian romances. And so she said that she has this ideal of a concept she wants to illustrate, like hope. And so one of her characters would represent the character trait of hope. Or one of them might represent the character trait of deceitfulness. And so everything that character does is sort of wrapped in that way they act. And so she's one of my favorite authors because of this book and her Mark of the Lion series. Now this book is based on the story of Hosea in the Bible, the book of Hosea the prophet. He is this guy who, in the Bible, God tells to marry a prostitute. And so he marries her, and then there's a series of unfortunate events happen. So she has this hook of Hosea and this man who is marrying this prostitute, and he's like a prophet, so you can say Christian man. So in this story, she takes it and she sets it in the Wild Wild West, and she creates a character named Michael Hosea, who represents Hosea. And she gives him these sort of attributes, and she creates a prostitute named Angel. And she gives her these attributes of being this woman who doesn't know her way, and that's how she develops her characters. So I thought she had an interesting approach. Or if, when I was 16, this is my actual 16-year-old copy of the autobiography of Malcolm X. It was really given to me by my Sunday school teacher. No, not this book, a different book on Malcolm X, but I got this one myself. And I love this book. But if you think of character development, even in nonfiction, Alex Haley is writing for Malcolm X, and at the Kinsey Collection at FAMU, you can see, I think, a letter, Malcolm X, I think it's a letter he wrote to Alex Haley, signed by Malcolm X himself. Oh no, the Kinsey Collection, I think it's leaving today. But Malcolm,
Yesterday.
yeah, I think it's, you can't see it right now. But Malcolm X and Alex Haley, so there you can see Detroit Red, Malcolm when he's young, and this, you know, with his hat to the side and his dancing those 1920s or 30s or whatever year that is dances, and his cool red, Detroit Red. You can feel, if you read the book, you can see the prisoner Bemby when he goes to prison and has this encounter where he decides he's going to read the dictionary all the way through and learn to read it, and the evolution of Malcolm. So this is a very character-driven autobiography. So even in nonfiction, characters are driving the story, and that's what I want you to keep in mind as you're thinking about characters and thinking about character development and creativity and cartooning as a way to just get out of yourself. So we're going to develop a character for this chair individually, and some people are really meticulous about character development. Now, I'm not very left-brained, and even if that's, I don't even know if that's right anymore. Scientists are starting to talk about, should we have these divisions? But I'm not very that. But there's a lot of writers who are very left-brained, and they say, they get out like a notepad, and they write down the age, the occupation, the attire, the family background, the genealogy of their characters, and they have character development charts online, plenty of them. And then they do this so they can recognize at any point in the story if the character gets out of, if their character's acting out of character. And so you can go back. So that's one approach to create a character, but our stories, you're talking about what we do, creating things, creating worlds from something or something from nothing. A lot of it has to do with touching people's hearts. You know, whether we're trying to get them to care about our stories that are imagined, or our stories that are realistic, we want people to connect with the characters and connect with the story. And that's what drives me, and it makes me want to pick up a book. It's the fact that something in that story has pulled a connection. So being character-driven is one way to do that. So about this chair, it's our party activity of my end of this uncomfortable writing experience. So this character just walked into our meeting. I don't know who they are. You're going to write about it, or write a paragraph about who's sitting in this chair and what they look like and who they are. And, you know, the initial impressions of this person that's coming and sitting in this chair. And you have about maybe 5 minutes to just write and create a verbal character. Share theirs. I'll share one.
Yeah,
She was lonely, sitting all alone in the library. A man in a blue shirt darted quickly by. "Can you open the room for the writers' meeting today?" he asked the stoic librarian. She got up, her feet suddenly lighter. Maybe she could listen in. It was something to do. She liked books. It could help her forget about Dan's death. She crept into the room and sat in a gray chair. "I hope no one notices me," she thought.
Alexis Dubois is a mixed-race woman in her 20s. She's outgoing and fun and very easy on the eyes. To catch her on a bad day, you may discern that there's some darkness and pain that lurks behind her smile. Her effervescence masks her insecurity of being abandoned. If she's the life of the party, no one will want to leave her again. Her expensive wardrobe compensates for the fact that she can't see the beauty in herself. And then I stopped.
Oh my goodness, I couldn't believe what I was looking at. He was short, no more than 5 feet tall, with a balding red hair and high yellow complexion. If that was not bad enough, he was portly, as they come without having to have someone help him walk. I mean, let's face it, his big belly and mine together would not allow much to happen in the romance department. So I ignored him, but he wasn't having it. He started showing up every place I was, sending flowers, and I don't even like flowers. And then he smiled. Those pearly whites had to cost thousands of dollars. Then I was caught in his net.
She. The way she looked down her nose, the way she sneered, with her manufactured eyelashes, seeming to brush her cheeks, her eyes cast aside as if to avoid acknowledging anyone in the room, immediately triggered a sputtering, infuriating anger inside me. Words refused to form. A bestial fury seemed to capture my tongue, and all I could do was grunt, utter her gender but never her name. Shh.
She walked in too quietly, sat down, gave a nod. She tried not to be noticed, but that was impossible. Her intelligent brown eyes sparkled behind a pair of big glasses. An emerald green dress hung limply on her frail frame. Her hair, dull and listless, fell to her shoulders, providing a curtain for her gaunt face. Who was this woman? Then she opened her mouth.
A tall, slightly chubby woman of fair skin and dirty blonde hair sits to the left of the podium. Her skin is pocked with scars that make it hard to determine her age. She sits with her head lowered, not meeting anyone's gaze. Her legs are crossed at the ankle with her foot jiggling, giving away her apprehension. She takes a deep breath and prepares to talk about the abuse that almost took her life a year ago today.
This tall, magnificent-looking man walked into the TAN meeting with long dreadlocks hanging down his back. He looked to be in his mid-40s with a smile on his face as he took a seat in the front of the room. He had on a pair of straight-leg jeans, a gray T-shirt, and a Bible in his hand. I wouldn't have taken him for the preacher type, but I was ready to listen to whatever he had to say. Amen.
The new CEO has the face of a rabbit who saw its shadow for the first time. Her eyes are glassy and her pointed nose shines as if it's wet up against her red blotchy skin. Without saying a word, I can tell she loves to eat, and her middle-aged spread probably justify those comfortable shoes and well-worn outfit. Hopefully the book's deeper than her cover.
So, real quickly, everybody's, the words that came with you, anybody want to elaborate a little bit on the word that described you? I put transparent, because I think I'm kind of pretty much an open book.
I put excited and adventurous because I've been disabled for the last year or so and felt like my life was over, didn't know where it was going, didn't know what to do. I'm a retired social worker, and I didn't realize how much my life was involved in recognizing the social work part of me. And I feel adventurous being here because I'm trying to find and realizing I have other interests. I do like to write. In fact, Monica actually gave me, I'm sorry, I did that all last week. Monique actually gave, in talking with her in her book, she gave me kind of an idea of something that I had been toying with for a while, just trying to figure out where that goes, how to write, where to begin, what all is. So I'm excited about that. I feel adventurous because I'm going down a different path, and so I'm really excited to be here.
Anybody else want to share that? Because some of y'all, like she said, one word or two words and describing towards positivity on a Saturday night while dressing.
That is a
So
sexy
something
picture.
like that. Okay, so we started this off, and first of all, thank Tracee because she ran. And but we started off talking about this conference, so we went on this character development exercise where you were going to have to draw kind of your feelings, your emotions, and what you're dealing with. Hopefully, some of y'all need counseling. But part of writing also, part of writing is also about writing, let's say, from pain. You know, and if you read some of the books and stories that have been shared here in our meetings, you get a lot of that. And we wanted to touch on that piece too, because you talk about this conference, write about something that's bothering you deeply. And I made some quick notes because I was up to 3:30 trying to get this stuff together. Pain can be about loss, about innocence, or about loss of innocence. It can be about a lot of things. And for a lot of people, writing is therapeutic. Just like Tracee, when I was going through my divorce, my first novel, y'all never seen it, it's called Elevator Man. I wrote that thing years ago. I was proud of it and put it up, and I went and picked it up months and months later, and I realized it was just a venting fest. It was just me just going off, just I'm not gonna go into that, it'll never see the light of day. But within all of that, you can't get away from using that part of your personal journey as part of your writing. So I'm gonna read something real quick for you, because you want to talk about loss. Let me share this with you real quickly. Okay, it's called Alluring Forever. I won't tell y'all who wrote it.
I was about to ask.
Alluring Sykes was never meant for the backseat of a school bus. She was front row diva material since the day her mother named my teen heartthrob after an adjective of mysterious attraction. Better to name alluring than her mother's moniker, Suki Shea Sykes. Suki Shea. Now that tag may have been okay for an exotic dancer, but Mama had grander plans for her baby girl, so did I. Alluring. Felt good every time I got the nerve to say it out loud. She had held my attention since our first mutual bus ride in middle school. To her, I may as well have been the white crud left in the crevices of a chewed up neck bone. I introduced myself the way most non-courtship trained 12-year-old boys did. I touched her. Had to. Those dual ultra sheen oil braids hung down over the back of the bus seat, tempted me from the row directly behind, dangling and shining like minnows before a malnourished catfish. I took the bait and ever so gently caressed the luster before my spellbound, beautiful eyes. Her hair had the texture of expensive nylon. It was the only elegant fabric I was familiar with. Daddy's good church socks were made of it. I didn't have the sophistication to adequately describe her plaits. Nylon was the best I could do. I also lacked the experience to discern between a caress and a tug. When Alluring jerked around to face me and raised her petite frame fully on bent knees, I knew I had done more than just caress her braids. In all of our 3 months in junior high together, I had never seen her angry. When her nostrils flared, my eyes went to her lovely face. Alluring was the color of watered-down tea, a light amber hue that reminded me of brown butter, the way cinnamon and margarine looked when they mixed in my overcooked oatmeal most mornings. We couldn't afford butter. I licked my lips in appreciation of how rich she made me feel in that breakfast moment. She misunderstood my lip-cleansing act. She drew back and balled her tiny fingers into a fist of retribution. The punch caught me flush on the upper arm. The bony knuckles of the blow caused me to flinch. No sound followed my physical chastisement. She just stared. I'm sorry, I weakly offered to a new and now lost friend. Alluring turned away grimacing, either at my apology or from the sting of feminine knuckles against taut adolescent boy flesh. I bowed my head and experienced the emptiness of loss for the very first time. So that's about innocence and loss. Okay, this ain't really a true story, y'all. Okay, Okay, maybe it was a little bit. And so I kept it at one time. Now, there's some more that goes with that, but the first part of it deals with loss and pain, even for an adolescent at the age of 12. This is young pain or young emotion. And some of us have deeper stories, and some of y'all have touched on it. As we were working on this exercise, and we were talking about writing from your discomfort and writing from your pain, and even using emotion as a vehicle to describe your story, I thought about Carmelita. The book she published, and again, the reason she didn't give y'all a lot of details because I told her not to.
I sure did.
Well, attorneys follow orders. You know that they're good at keeping secrets. You know that. So what we're going to do, I've invited her today to come up and share a little bit about her story. So that's why y'all didn't get the details. I was like, don't say nothing.
Look at that.
You've been forgiven. Yeah. So now I will tell you this, there will be no more exercise, no more writing after this, but we're just going to hear from a guest today and have her share a little bit about her story.
Yeah, thank you, Alfred, for inviting me. He called me last night. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, last
okay,
minute.
That'll be awesome. This is my book, Pressure, Pain, Promise. First-time author, so I'm honored to be among so many published authors and writers. I feel like I'm the baby of the group, so I think I can learn a lot from all of you guys, so I'll probably be touching base with you before I leave. Pressure, Pain, Promise, A Journey from Darkness to Destiny. I wrote this book, but what I didn't realize is that I had been writing the book, right? It's actually a personal story. It talks about my journey of adoption. So that's the tagline, A Journey from Darkness to Destiny. When I was adopted at birth, I used to think I was thrown away, unwanted, right? What was wrong with me? Because my mom had actually 4 other children, but I was the second and the only one that was actually given away. So growing up, I started experiencing pressures in life. I became a teenage parent at 16. I was pregnant at 15. My adopted dad actually passed away when I was 8 years old, so I found myself looking for validation. And I was looking for love in all the wrong places. Y'all heard that, right? Looking for love in all the wrong places. So I was, seeking men, chasing men, and I was just going through a lot. And I actually didn't realize it until later, but I was experiencing depression, anxiety. I had constant thoughts of suicide. And not until 2007, I was in church, and my pastor at the time was preaching, and he had preached from an excerpt in the Bible where it's talking about how if you were adopted, that you were actually chosen. And that moment, my entire life changed. I saw myself completely different. I was like, you know what? I wasn't abandoned. I wasn't thrown away. There's nothing wrong with me, right? This was God's plan all along. So once my mindset changed, then things began to change. I went on to law school, graduated from FAMU in Orlando in 2007. I started 2 businesses. I'm an unemployment appeals consultant, so I represent people who have been denied unemployment benefits. Then also started another company, Kairos Consulting Group, and we bring professionals and aspiring entrepreneurs together so we can just pretty much expand each other's network. It was something I was doing anyway, so I was like, let's just bring everybody together so we can help each other benefit. So I will tell you though, after I released the book, I was like, God, what have I done? Because now the secret was out, right? I dressed up, I did my hair, I looked the part, but there was a point in time where I was technically homeless. For the past 18 months, I was sleeping on my mom's couch, because I had lost an apartment, I had lost a house to foreclosure, my second year in law school. So I had to keep up the facade. I had to make everybody think I had it, together, when inside I was honestly falling apart, right? So if it's okay, I'd like to read just a couple of excerpts from the book. Is that all right?
Yes.
All right. So the introduction, let's see. All right.
None of the scars show. You're good.
Sir?
None of the scars are showing.
Maybe you need book 2. You're working on book 2?
It's coming. I haven't started yet.
Okay,
But thank you. All right. It didn't seem fair. What was wrong with her? Her big brown eyes full of innocence. All fingers and toes accounted for. But somehow, she still wasn't good enough. Not good enough to keep anyway. She was given away, abandoned, unwanted. Not the bundle of joy that most hope for and can only pray for. No, she was different. a byproduct of fornication, the evidence of a love affair that didn't last, the reflection of another that she would not come to know as her mother, although from her womb she was birthed. Being adopted just days after being in this world, she began to grow and became well acquainted with the pressures of finding validation, acceptance, love, and the answers to questions she had in her mind but could not formulate into words. Her journey began, a journey that would take her from the initial pressures of life, which caused much pain, yet led her to the promise. A journey that led from darkness to her destiny. This is my story. For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Jeremiah 29:11, once upon a time. So that's how I open up the book. I basically say, you know what, here it is, it's on the table. What you see is really not the full story, right? And then I go on, and it talks about, remember I was talking about anxiety and depression, and a lot of times what I learned is that people suffer in silence. And a lot of times when people, look good, right? We look like we have it all together, but you really don't. And until we actually take time to get to know who we're talking to and move beyond that person's mask, we don't know, who we're dealing with. So that's what this is about. Oftentimes, people suffer silently from undiagnosed diseases, ashamed and afraid to get help, not truly knowing what they need or for what to specifically ask. Subtle thoughts of suicide became my headline for a story I was sick and tired of reading the lines for. The pain from the initial pressures of life began to enter without invitation and have a seat at the main table. An uninvited guest with no manners, yielding its dark thoughts of ways to escape it all without saying goodbye. Suggesting ideas of suicide as my final curtain call, with congratulatory flowers thrown over my grave and tears from friends and family as the applause. She was drowning, but no one saw her struggle. You may look at me and think I have it all together, but behind my smile there's a pile of pain that slides down my face in the form of broken tears whenever you're not around. But when you ask me how I'm doing, I reply as if on perfect cue, I'm fine. When the truth of the matter is that I'd rather forget the day even began. No, not to try it again tomorrow, but to say my final goodbye to the repeated disdain, disappointments to this very day that I did not want to see in the first place. And I'm not sure that I even want you to save me anyway. Yes, my grin is fixed perfectly. I laugh with you during conversations and perhaps stay beyond my welcome because I know when I am alone, I have to deal with me. I must face the reflection of rejection and smile anyway, even if the grin hurts. When I am with me, I must acknowledge the fact that I do not have it together as everyone perceives and erroneously believes, and now I criticize me for not being better, for not being further along on this journey than I am. How did I get to this point? I was depressed without proper diagnosis. I cried just because, daily. I stayed in bed for hours and hours and days upon days, far beyond the sun's rising, crying because I was ready to give up and die. It would be easier, I thought. Many days I fantasized about gracing the water with my chest, taking my last breath. I envisioned how my car would take its last dance on a carefully constructed bridge and be dipped into the arms of its lover, the sea. The mistress, me, as we were all intertwined in a forbidden state of mind. I even imagined driving my car dangerously yet somehow gracefully in excess of any regulated speed limit while closing my eyes, as if to lean in for a first kiss. Knowing he would not move before I touch, the impact of the two now becoming one, perhaps becoming many, depending on how fast we reach the crescendo together. Yet I passed the trees, heart heavily racing as if I'm out of breath. I thought about it. A sudden swerve would be my hello. I frequently contemplated suicide. And then it goes from, talks about the pressure, talks about this part, the pain, but then it talks about the promise. And what I realized last September, I was at church and my pastor, Joseph Davis, and he was talking about basically go get your life. You know, and I had put a lot of things on the back burner, like this book. I always loved to write, and my friend said, you know, if you write, it's going to be therapeutic, it's going to be healing, and that was the whole point. And so when I was under his teaching, I was like, man, maybe it's time to pick up the pen again, right? Maybe it's time to go after those things that I had laid aside because I didn't think I was worthy of having. Mm-hmm. And so the way I closed the book, it talks about, I don't even know if I titled it. No, I didn't. Anyway, but this is talking about, you know, getting to the promise. And what I realized is that the pressure and the pain all was necessary. Even though it hurt while I was going through it, it was necessary to get to the promise. And I think when I was talking with Alfred last night, I believe that this is in alignment because writing, even though you're writing from your pain, is therapeutic for you, is healing. But more importantly, there's so many other people that have experienced the same things we've experienced, but they're afraid to tell their story, right? So once they read our books, and it's happened to me, and it'll happen to you, you know, if you're in this position, I was talking to the young lady earlier, people are gonna come up to you and say, man, that's my story, you know? But I was afraid to tell it, but now because of your courage, now I can tell my story. And so that's what we're doing. It's not about me, it's not about me being adopted, it's about everybody being adopted, right? Everybody experiencing pain, everybody experiencing thoughts of suicide or depression, you know, and basically to encourage people to come out of hiding so that we can be healed. All right, so I'll close it out with this. She cried her last tear at the altar. There she laid down her burdens and all of her pain, and never again to be touched by her as she left them with her Father, the one who promised to wipe her tears away. And he did, and left no residue upon her. She had a peace now that she could not explain. She had unspeakable joy that took pride in replacing her pain. She was ready to love because she now loved herself. And she realized that she was searching for a Father that in reality never left. Her void was filled by the Alpha and the Omega, and he loved her more than life.
Whoa.
So, Carmelita's right. I called her last night or yesterday because as we were talking about this discomfort and writing from even pain, I had already been following her on Facebook and reading some of the excerpts. I've known Carmelita about 2 years now. I was like, why am I sitting here trying to read stuff that I've done? There's a real testimony to what I told her. And as Carmelita said when I talked, it's just kind of a line when I called her. So thank you for coming out on such short notice. I think that concludes our meeting. Tracee, did you have anything else you want to wrap up? Then we are out.
Thank you.